From Cichy Stadium in Fargo, North Dakota. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jed Thomas, alongside my partner Mason Timian, as we get set for North Dakota High School girls soccer action as the Shanley Deacons get ready to take on the Fargo North Spartans. Well, folks, they don't get much better than this one. Two undefeated teams, EDC rivals, battle it out here in our last sports broadcast of the year here on Shanley TV. Folks, it's going to be a great time, a beautiful night for some great soccer action. For now, I'm going to send things to a quick commercial break, but do not go anywhere. Great night of soccer coming up in just a minute.
This broadcast is presented by American Family Insurance, KRAFT Agency, Bell Bank, Butler Machinery Company, Ed's Marine and Storage, the Fargo Jet Center, First International Bank and Trust, Forum Communications, Haley's Hope, Kochman Brothers Homes, Luther Family Buick GMC, Master Construction, Moore Engineering, Netrix IT, Northern Improvement Company, Off the Wall Advertising, Robert Gibb and Sons, SANFORD Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Shields, and TCI Insurance.
Good evening, folks, and welcome back to North Dakota High School girls soccer action. I'm Jed Thomas, of course, joined by Mason Timian, as we are getting set for what should be a fantastic game here. Before the break, I said we're looking at two undefeated teams in the East, a battle for supremacy in the conference. The North Spartans come into tonight at a mark of 4-0. Shanley, meanwhile, is 2-0-2. Mason, how big is this game between two teams who have yet to suffer a loss?
Yeah, obviously, Jed, it's going to be very high implications, especially looking into the postseason here. It's been a very short soccer season thus far, given the weather that we had to start the spring. But, both teams obviously are going to be playing very hard from the opening kick. And, first goal tonight may play a big difference, Jed.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Mason. A lot of these games we've seen from Shanley, offense has been a little hard to come by. I don't think there's any denying the strength of this team is on the back end. Specifically, two names that stick out to me are Olivia Manuel and Natalie Heinrich on the back end. They really lock things down there for Shanley. They make the job really easy for the goalie. They just kind of do it all back there. Would you tend to agree with that?
Yeah, for sure, Jed. And another thing about that people sometimes don't realize is when you have such a solid defense, that also gives the midfielders and forwards a little bit more of a chance to be aggressive and try to score a goal early on. They don't have to worry as much about getting back on defense because they really trust that back line back there.
For sure, that's a great point, Mason. Something I don't think everyone picks up on, like you said. And looking at the offensive aspect of the game for Shanley, I think key names up there would probably be Hadley Huber, sophomore, expected to kind of step into a larger role this year. The loss of Brooklyn Dew really hurts the offensive ability of the Shanley Deacons. She was just such a presence there for so long. But I definitely think Huber is one of the names that's expected to fill that void. Along with her, Abby Promisberger from Oak Grove. She's just a freshman, but she's shown some real ability out there for Shanley. So personally, those are the two names I'd look at forward.
Yeah, for sure. Abby Promisberger has really been a bright spot thus far for the Deacons. Only a freshman, bringing a lot of youth to the team, but she has done a great job so far. I know she's already netted a few goals for the Deacons this year, and she's definitely shown us Shanley fans that she has the ability to be a great athlete. Obviously, in the girls' hockey season, she was a bright spot for that team. But, yeah, she's really shown her value as well in the soccer field so far this spring.
And, meanwhile, you look over at this Fargo North roster, and it's pretty interesting, the contrast. This Shanley team is just filled with 8th, 9th, and 10th graders. Meanwhile, North is led by a great group of juniors and seniors. Just tons of names out here. Kendall Swanson in the midfield. You've got both Watsons, Remy Vanette, the senior defender and midfielder. I mean, these are just so many experienced players that are going to play a huge role for North. I think that experience, Mason, is a big reason why they're 4-0 right now.
Exactly, and they obviously that experience also means that they've probably been playing together for quite a few years, so they do have that advantage. But it'll be interesting to see how that chemistry and a little bit more experience kind of plays off versus the youth of this Shanley team.
For sure, and this Shanley squad, talk about the youth. They've kind of been playing past their expectations this season. It was supposed to be a rebuilding year after a very tough loss in the state championship game last season, but so far they're looking like they're right back in contention. So an upstart team here playing above expectations, going up against one of the top teams in the East, expected to be a top team. Just a great classic battle.
Exactly, and it just really goes to show that when you get some momentum going on early in the season, there's just a lot of things. Everybody just really starts to play a lot better. Things are meshing really well, and obviously tonight, both teams coming in really hot, and they're looking to keep that going, so we're really going to be in for a very good game tonight.
Absolutely. As you mentioned, Mason, inclement weather led to a pretty late start to the season here, but finally, I think teams are starting to find their groove. We're into what you would call the middle, maybe even to the later parts of the season here as we're getting towards the middle part of May, but I think, like I said, all teams are really starting to find their groove here, settle in, and we're seeing the best soccer that these teams are capable of as we get this one going right away with a drawback to Hansen. Post will take it on the near side for the Deacons. She's going to send that one back to Mattern. Mattern tries a little spin move to get around, and now she'll go to Wambach on the near side. Wambach over to Post, trying to spring Promisberger up the near side. That one won't go, but Promisberger gets back to it. Hansen now up the middle, trying to feed Huber on the way left. Huber works her way around, attempting to get past Watson. Watson playing tight on her, so she chips it back to Manuel. Manuel through the center of the field to Wambach. She settles it down, looking to connect with Hansen. Hansen can't get a clean go, and it's cleared, but only partially. Post now brings it around the near side, trying to kick it back to a defender. That won't go. It's broken up, and now here come the Spartans. A little touch and go, attempting to hook up with Naiseth. That won't work, but now back with it is Solberg. Solberg going along the near side, right back to Naiseth. Mattern comes in to take it away, and now here goes Mattern with a great steal. She couldn't stay on it for too long, though. The Spartans come right back as Baki is in control. Baki with a move to get around Wambach. Another stutter step, but it goes out of bounds off her.
You know, a couple good possessions there to start off. The Deacons had the ball for quite a while. Even got it into the zone, thought they'd maybe get a shot early on, but then North also came back. They seem a little more confident than usual to start the game. Normally you see quite a few turnovers to really get the game going, but some good control early on from both teams.
Absolutely, Mason. Slow starts have been a bit of a problem for Shanley so far this season, but tonight they've really come out swinging. And like you said, they have had their issues with that in the past, but it's so far a good sign early on in this one. Settling that ball down on the far side was Manuel. She's trying to work it through the middle of the field. Not much going there. It was taken away by Solom. Solom feeds it to Swanson, who then checks that one back to Miner. Miner now going to give over on the near side to Baki. Baki gets it forward. It's off the foot of Post. Now over to Hansen. Hansen goes back to Mattern. She looks forward. Not a lot there. Trying to chip it back to Post off her foot. Taken away by Swanson and then fed forward to Solom. Solom looking to go far side with it. Not a lot going there. Strong defense played by Huber. Huber putting some pressure on, forcing the Spartans to volley this one around. Not much going there, and it looks like it might have gone out of bounds, so it'll be a throw-in here for Shanley. Manuel on the throw-in, gets a lot of altitude on it, but can't find a Deacon to give it to, and now a nice little through ball finds its way up to Solom. Solom trying to spring someone forward. Nothing there, and now an errant pass will be taken away by North. Swanson now has it through the middle of the field. She's going to send it across over to Baki. Baki looking forward, nothing there, so she checks it off over to Vanette. Vanette deep in her own territory, looking to get that one upfield, and it's just a little bit out of reach. Went past Huber and went past her intended target, so it'll roll out of bounds. That time she was trying to spring the junior, Cambry Watson. We've seen a couple of passes intended to go her way. Nothing's connected quite yet, but Watson is a burner out on the far side. Has some good speed to get around defenders. We'll see if she can get the ball, though, and try to make some moves here.
Yeah, we mentioned, Jed, some good ball control early, and now we're seeing some of those turnovers that we've kind of seen to start the game. Both teams really starting to try to find their groove a little bit, and as soon as you start making a few good touches to really start the game, you really see the girls really start to settle in and make those passes that they're accustomed to making.
Absolutely. I think North was maybe caught a little bit off guard to start this one, and like you said, they've started to settle in here. Game's just started to even out a bit. So Swanson has it through midfield, trying to feed that one on the near side over to Solberg. Out of her reach, though. Now Mattern has it for Shanley. Mattern, some physical play there on Solberg. Goes over to Wambach, who goes right back to Mattern. Mattern puts it upfield, trying to get to Hansen. That one won't go. It's taken away by the Spartans. Swanson now in the middle of the field, going all the way across. Knocked down, though, by Huber. Huber bringing it forward. Good pass intended for Hansen. It was off target. Swanson there to intercept again for North. On the far side, Watson. Watson able to get that one upfield. She found Naiseth. Naiseth, though, was boxed out nicely by Heinrich, who's going to chase it down to try to keep it in. And she just about got there, but was a second late, so this one's going to go out of bounds off the Deacons.
Yeah, one thing I like to keep an eye on, Jed, it's obviously something you can't really take a stat on, but I always like to see if the ball's on one side of the 50 or the other side. If Shanley is consistently making North play defense, or if North is consistently making Shanley play defense, that really can really lead to just who's going to maybe score more goals in the game, or overall just shots on goal. That's something you can't really keep stats on, but it is something that's very important, just if you're going to be in the opponent's zone or if you're going to be defending for most of the game.
Certainly, Mason, it's always important to win that possession battle. More often than not, if you're in possession for most of the game, you're going to be the one winning that game, as this one's going to roll out of bounds. I think they'll say last touched by a Spartan.
Yeah, that was a nice through ball there from Huber up to Brownsberger, but Van Nett from North made a great play on that ball. He kicked that out of bounds and let the rest of the defense recover. That could have been an early leak out and shot on goal for Brownsberger, but a really nice play there from the senior Van Nett from North.
Yeah, Remy Van Nett, one of those seniors we talked about before the game, just part of a great leadership group here for the Spartans, as this one's going to be thrown into Huber. Huber, like you mentioned, had the nice through ball that time. She's back checking quite well for Shanley, playing good defense. Obviously expected to play more of an offensive role in sort of that forward position, but she's been switching quite nicely so far.
Yes, for sure.
Abby Grieger, another senior defender, to kick this one away for the Spartans. 34-40 remaining here in the first half. Fairly balanced play so far. Grieger keeps this one low, gets some good distance on it, although it goes right into the feet of Post, who attempts to chip it forward to Huber. Huber with a great little feed intended for Hansen, but it's too strong, and it's headed away by Baki. Baki able to get that one forward, hooked up briefly that time with Hoff, but now it's lost back to the Deacons. Post with it for Shanley. Not a lot of options. She just sort of put one on goal there, and it's an easy save for Gemtrude.
Yeah, not a bad shot there from Emily Post, just making sure the goalie's awake early on. Nothing wrong with getting a shot on goal, especially if nothing's working. I like that there from Emily Post.
Yeah, neither goalie has really been tested at all, and to a degree, if you're Gemtrude, I think you sort of like that, because sometimes you can almost zone out when you're not getting any action going your way. Just kind of making those easy grabs is a good way to keep you involved in the game.
Yeah, exactly, Jed. I think that's something that we experienced a little bit this year with our hockey team. Sometimes you notice when the goalie doesn't see any action for maybe 10, 15 minutes on the ice, they're maybe more accustomed to let an easy one in. So, yeah, also a good thing for the defense. It's good to just have a couple easy ones early to get the confidence going for the goalie as well.
This ball going to be picked up by the Deacons. Wambach that time, a little bit of a miscommunication. Think she was trying to go to Mattern. Heinrich got in there to take it, though, for the Deacons. Keep it out of harm's way. Mattern now going to get this one forward to Hansen. Hansen looking to go back over to Wambach. Not going to connect that time. They weren't on the same page. Post comes in to clean it up for Shanley. It's Mattern, though, who makes the play. And talking about that defense for Shanley, I've talked a lot about Heinrich and Manuel. They've both been quite good for the Deacons, but Lydia Mattern, the freshman, has really stepped up this year as well. We've seen her a lot today. She's locked down the near side of the field for Shanley. For
sure, Mattern has done a very good job. She's kind of a physical defender, and she really uses her frame to defend very well, and she's very confident when she gets the ball and just makes really nice touches, and that's good to see, especially out of a freshman, Jed.
Yeah, Mason, you said it best. She's not afraid to get in there and make the physical play, and like you said, for a freshman, that's a great quality to have. Not intimidated at all by opposing forwards, as this one's going to take an awkward bounce around the head of Wambach. Wambach now trying to feed Berg. Berg's pass not going to find Wambach. It's Baki who takes it from North. She tried to save it, keep it in bounds, but it just rolls out on her.
Yeah, Baki is a name that Shanley TV viewers know pretty well, Jed. I remember her especially from the volleyball season. She gave the Shanley team some trouble, I remember, at the home game at Shanley. She's a good athlete. Good to see her out on the soccer field as well for the Fargo North Spartans.
Yeah, certainly, Mason. A lot of these names for North and for Shanley as well. Pretty big names in the volleyball world like you were talking about, as this ball's not going to quite hook up, intended that time for Hoff. It is found on the far side, however, by Smith, who's trying to play it over to Watson. Watson now with a great little through ball over to Hoff, trying to check it back to Watson. Just out of reach, though, and it'll roll out of bounds.
Yeah, Hoff is another name I know that we should definitely be keeping an eye on tonight, Jed. She's only a junior, but she's definitely one of the leaders on this team. I know that she's actually played on a travel team with a few Shanley players. I know senior Tabby Kelsch has played on a travel team before with Hoff, and both of them are some of the better players on both teams, and they're definitely play a leadership role for both teams, and their coaches expect a lot out of them.
Olivia Manuel here to throw in for Shanley. Short delay here. Looking. Going to try to put this one downfield to Huber, and it's headed out immediately by Smith. Not allowing anything to develop on that play, although it will bring the ball forward for Shanley. Manuel looks once again, attempting to find Hansen. It's too strong, knocked away by Vanette. Deacons volley that one out of trouble, and now Mattern will pick it up. Mattern bring it into the offensive zone, tried to make a move, but had her pocket picked by Solberg. Solberg now trying to get this one upfield to Naiseth. Naiseth giving chase, just going to try to put one on net, and that is a nice play for the Spartans. Although not a lot comes out of it, they still get a shot on goal. Really pretty looking play.
Yeah, a lot of excitement came out of the crowd there, just kind of the first leak out of the game, but junior defenseman Natalie Heinrich did a great job covering that and just didn't really give the Spartans much of a chance at all to really score. Nice save, and Deacons are going back the other way, Jed.
Really nice job there by Naiseth Mason. I thought Heinrich had her totally cut off. I did not think she'd be able to get a shot on goal, but you saw that little shot there, real nice curve to it. Ended up making Metzger, made the save. Easy one still, but just good to get a shot on goal.
Yeah, exactly. Like we mentioned, it's never a bad thing to get a shot on goal, because any possession that ends in a shot on goal, you know, if you can continually do that, that is obviously going to result in good things for the team later on.
Yeah, never know what's going to happen either. Sometimes an easy save ends up rolling past a goalie, so just good to generate opportunities, like you said. Post doing a good job here for the Deacons, maintaining possession. It's 9 versus 9 right now as she was battling with Solom. Solom, though, going to get a little too physical that time, and so be a penalty kick here for Shanley. 29:43 remaining now in this first half as the Deacons look to set this one up. Heinrich will take this one for Shanley. The junior defender waiting for her team to get set. And now she puts this one downfield. It's going to be headed away by Baki. Hansen had it for a second but didn't get all of it, and now Watson is just going to put that one out of danger. And it looks like we'll have a corner.
Yeah, a nice ball in there from Natalie Heinrich, and a nice play as well from Hansen. Almost a scoring opportunity there for the Deacons, but obviously not going to complain with a corner kick here early.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that so far, Mason. A lot of almost, just some feet that haven't quite gotten all the ball, just a couple plays that haven't quite been there but have been close. So Manuel on this corner, first one of the evening, puts it maybe a little too far out, didn't quite get into the center of the field, and then Spartans look to knock this one away. It's going to be popped up into the air and out of bounds, and I think we're going to have another corner here, as they'll say that one was last touched by the visitors.
Yeah, Manuel's going to get another chance at this corner kick. Probably going to try to play this one just a little bit deeper, let some of the height from the Shanley team to try to make it a header or something here. Yeah,
and this one maybe looked a little short, although I might have spoke too soon, as Wambach got a great shot on that. Didn't look like much was happening, and she ended up getting a great opportunity that was just maybe a foot or so high. And great job by the 8th grader there, making something out of nothing.
Yeah, for sure. Just a little bit too high. Hit the goalpost, actually came back, something that gets everybody a little excited. That's something that happens maybe a couple times a game almost, is that they hit that one goalpost, Jed, and you think that it's off the top of the net, but in reality it's off the goalpost.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, bouncing off the crossbar like that, it'll take an awkward bounce, it'll go crossbar, then it'll go off the top of the net, and it can kind of make a goalie a little disoriented because I don't think you expect it to double bounce like you sort of saw there. So just one of those awkward plays that can sometimes lead to a goal. Never know what's going to quite get the ball in the back of the net, as this one's going to be knocked off the foot of Wambach. Naiseth showing some real speed so far in this one as she's given chase. Not quite going to win that race, though.
Yeah, and a nice play there from Heinrich once again. Just play that out of bounds, let the rest of the defense recover, and just really get everybody gathered again.
Quick throw in here, but also a quick whistle, and I think we got another one going against Solom. Just getting a little too much contact that time. Nothing egregious, but it will be a penalty kick for the Deacons.
Yeah, another thing to keep an eye on, Jed. Senior Tabby Kelch looks to be warming up on the sideline. She was a little bit late tonight. For those of you Shanley viewers that are used to seeing her out here on the pitch for the Shanley Women's Deacons, but she had her grad party tonight, so they did move the game back just so that she could play. Obviously, senior captain Tabby Kelch plays a very big role on this team, and she looks like she's getting loose and will probably be on the field here soon for the Deacons.
Yeah, not a surprising scheduling error given this time of year. Grad party, a very common occurrence here as we get into the later part of May, and of course with the way the season worked out with weather, scheduling anything has been a bit of a challenge. So not too surprising there. Deacons, though, happy that they'll be able to get her here, and also got to tip the hat here to North, who was more than willing to move this game back to 8 o'clock so that Shanley could have their senior captain available. That's a pretty nice move from a team that obviously would probably rather not be playing against Kelch.
Yeah, for sure. That's a very nice move. A lot of sportsmanship shown there from Fargo North. And obviously if you're Tabby Kelch, you got to be a little happy maybe rolling up a little bit late to this game, seeing we mentioned earlier a lot of youth on the Shanley girls soccer team. And Kelch, one of the few upperclassmen left on the team that was obviously playing in the state championship game last spring for the Deacons.
Opportunity here for North on the near side as Solberg is trying to make something happen. Mattern going to lock down right on her, though. This one will roll out of bounds, and the indication says it'll stay with the Spartans. Solberg on the throw-in here, going deep, trying to find the middle of the field. Opportunity that time for Hoff. Could not quite get on it, though. Hansen making a nice play there on defense, although she goes down. On the far side, it's Watson who has it. Watson working against Manuel. Manuel trying to let that one roll out. You see her boxing out, waiting till the last second. Watson gets another foot on it that finally pushes it out of bounds. And what patience that time from Manuel. She was really hoping that that one would roll out.
Yeah, great play there from Olivia Manuel. Just patience, obviously key there, and just a very confident play. That's something that you have to have a lot of confidence in your abilities, because if you don't do it the right way, obviously the offensive player can just kind of sneak around you and maybe get an easy shot on net. So that's something that you have to have a lot of confidence in your abilities if you're going to do that there from Manuel.
Absolutely, she continues to impress here in her sophomore season. Feed over to Solom. Solom going to go back to Swanson. Swanson just looking to check it back to a defender here. Ultimately going to find Grieger. Grieger now to Baki on the near side. Baki surveys her options, goes back to Swanson, who tries a little no-looker intended for Solom. Broken up, though, by the Deacons as Heinrich will put it forward. Solberg picked it up, got it over to Hoff, back to Solom. Solom looking upfield, trying to reconnect that time with Solberg. A little bit out of reach, though. Now a battle for it in the near corner. Solberg going 2 against 1 here, holding her own, although it's just going to finally be pushed out of bounds by Heinrich. I think that one might have tapped off the foot of Solberg.
Yeah, looks like it will be Shanley ball. A couple substitutions coming in for the Deacons. But, Jed, Fargo North really looks like they're starting to get a little bit something going. Their passes are starting to connect a little bit more. They just need to get a few shots on net to kind of really finish those offensive possessions.
Yeah, they're doing a much better job here moving the ball into the Shanley zone. Meanwhile, kind of quietly, we have not seen as much offense from Shanley. It's been a little deceptive because most of the play has just kind of been in the middle of the field. But like you were saying, the field is tilting a little bit towards the Shanley end, so got to be careful here. It would be nice for them if they could get the ball back into the north zone sometime soon. Skirmish for the ball deep in Shanley territory. It pops out and will be cleared by Huber. Not totally, though, as it's headed right back in that time by Smith. So it's a loose ball once again in Shanley territory. Heinrich curling around with it, looking to connect that time with Huber. It's intercepted, though, by Watson, and then given off to Hoff. Hoff trying to work it forward that time to Naiseth, and then it's just going to be put out of bounds. Last touch by the Deacons.
Yeah, Fargo North really doing a great job keeping the ball on Shanley's end. And, if they keep doing this, Jed, a lot of nice passes being completed. Eventually they're going to get a good shot on goal. So something that, obviously, if you're a Fargo North fan, very happy to see. But if you're a Shanley Deacon fan, you're really hoping that they can get something going on offense.
Yeah, for sure. And the more this ball stays in the Shanley zone, the more tired Shanley is going to get. It's no secret. The more you have to defend, the more fatigued you feel. It's a whole different ball game when you're expending that energy on offense. And so good here to see the ball finally going to go out off north. So Shanley might get an opportunity, as now Tabby Kelch will sub in here, and that's a huge thing for Shanley as well.
Yes, obviously a lot of things do revolve around senior Tabby Kelch. She is the leader out there for the Shanley Deacons, so it's good to see her out there. And both teams obviously probably going to have to take it up another notch if they're going to look to get one in the back of the net.
Loose ball around midfield. Kelch trying to come away with it. Knocked off of it that time, but only briefly by Hoff. Deacons still trying to put it back in the north zone. Swanson tied up with Promisberger that time for it. Ball back to Promisberger, then over to Kelch. Kelch tips it forward. It'll roll into the arms of Gemtrude.
A little bit of offensive penetration there from the Deacons. Not quite of slow, methodical possession as we've seen from the Spartans, but obviously something that you're not going to complain about if you're the Deacons.
For sure, as this is a wise play from Manuel, just letting that one roll out of bounds off the kick from Gemtrude. 22:03 left here in the first. Still knotted up 0-0. Hansen has it for Shanley, trying to work it forward. Swanson broke it up for the Spartans. Able to play it over that time to Hansen. Hansen on the far side, though, had it knocked out of bounds. Last touched by her, so it will be Shanley ball here as Manuel throws in. Manuel with a nicely placed ball intended for Hansen. Hansen, though, in a tough spot with Smith right there. It's going to roll out, and Hansen wisely lets it be pushed out by Smith.
Yeah, beautiful ball in there from sophomore Olivia Manuel, right into right where Hansen really needed it to make a play, and now they have another throw on.
Yeah, just able to let it ride that line out, almost going out of bounds, just to put it right where it had to be. As Berg is now going to give this one back to Mattern as the Deacons try to set up. Mattern tried a little fake out that time, not quite enough on it. Hansen was able to get to it, though. Now over to Berg and then up to Kelch. Knocked away, though, that time by Grieger. Solberg ultimately going to put this one way out, and so it'll be Manuel to throw in once again from about the same spot.
Yeah, and you see they're trying to get the ball into Tabby Kelch, and you see Fargo North must have game planned a little bit. It seems like there's at least one person marking, if not two, on Kelch every single time she goes in. Obviously, they're hoping that she doesn't get it close to the net, Jed.
And some contact made there, an easy call that time against Promisberger as she collided with the net. So it'll be a penalty kick here for the Spartans back in their own territory. Grieger will be the one to take it, another senior defender. Grieger keeps it low, gets some nice leg behind it though. Hansen the first one to take it for Shanley. Over to Berg. Berg trying to connect with Kelch. Kelch able to get back to it, and she bails it out of trouble. Over to Mattern. Mattern trying to make a move to get around Anderson. Anderson, though, makes a nice play, and Promisberger going to let it roll out of bounds. Mattern will throw in now for the Deacons.
Looks like we have two more substitutions. A quick breath there from Hadley Huber, and she's already checking back into the game, and it looks like Emily Pulse will also be checking in. So two sophomores there for the Shanley Deacons, Jed.
Yeah, two pretty important sophomores. Post may be one of those names that doesn't get mentioned as much. Really probably is because of the position she plays in that midfield spot. Maybe not the most glamorous, but boy, she has really played well for Shanley this year. I've been really impressed with her. She's just stepped up and filled a role that needed to be, just playing excellent, looking like maybe the heir to Tabby Kelch at that spot.
You know, as of I, Jed, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the exact same thing. Emily Post has been extremely solid in almost every single way for the Lady Deacons this year. She just has the fundamentals down, and a very high IQ. You can see it out there when she's playing, and that's just something that you can just really appreciate when you're watching.
For sure. Manuel tied up on the far side with Hansen. Nice job getting out of a jam, able to get that one to Hansen, who makes another good play over to Kelch. A great display of passing here from the Deacons as a little tic-tac-toe that time. Kelch trying to connect with Huber. Huber going to win the race, puts one almost on net. Gemtrude tipped it with her fingers just barely, but how about that passing, Mason?
Just beautiful. I mean, Manuel started off actually going between the defender's legs, and then you see a great give and go between Hansen and Kelch, and then Kelch gives a great ball right up to Huber, and Huber put a great shot on, but also a great save there from Gemtrude from North.
Yeah, that's about as pretty as you can get without actually scoring a goal that time. Tough for the Deacons not to finish that one, but that was fun to watch.
Yes, it was.
18:36 left on the clock as Tabby Kelch is going to take a corner kick here for Shanley, their third of the evening. That one not going to find any Deacons that time. North was in better position, but Hansen will get a shot on goal. A little high that time, though, so Shanley has had a couple opportunities off those corners, yet to convert, though.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few short corner kicks thus far, but they've also resulted in shots, so maybe the Deacons do know what they're doing with those short corners, Jed.
Yeah, they always seem to look, every time I see them, I'm thinking they're short. I'm thinking they didn't get enough leg on them, but like you said, I think they probably know a little better than me, so.
Number 20, Josie Hill.
Josie Hell going to check into the game for Fargo North as this one's knocked forward by Berg. Played ahead now by Vanette for North, attempting to hook up with Hansen that time. Hansen collides with Manuel. Manuel with a great play to take it away. Here goes Olivia Manuel now with a nice feed over to Huber on the far side. Vanette right there to take it straight off the feet of Huber. Huber didn't even realize it was gone until Vanette was a couple steps away, and now a good play up to Josie Hell. Emineth, though, there for Shanley to take it away from Hell. Those two are usually teammates during the hockey season, but there you see them battle it out. Two tremendous athletes for both schools.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one place that the Fargo North Spartans really have to keep an eye on, Jed. Playing a through ball up to Grace Emineth's side is something that you're probably going to struggle to do if you continue to do it throughout the whole night. One of the fastest sprinters in the entire state. She's a two-sport athlete in the spring alone. Also plays hockey, obviously, as you mentioned, with a lot of these girls from Fargo North in the winter, but obviously some extreme speed there from Emineth.
Yeah, scary thing, Mason, is Emineth isn't even a starter for the Shanley squad. She comes off the bench, gets a lot of minutes, but she's not even one of their starters. I think that really goes to show how strong the D-core is. Nice little pass there from Huber over to Kelch. Kelch goes back to Post. Post trying to play it away from some Spartans, but that pass is going to be broken up over to Solom. Solom, though, couldn't hold it for too long. Post has it now, and she'll give back over to Hansen. Hansen now on the near side, attempting to hook up with Kelch. That one just off the leg of Kelch and then played forward by Vanette. Heinrich comes in to try and clean it up. She couldn't get on that one, so Hansen will send it over to Berg. Berg, though, can't get to it, though. It's Hoff there instead. Hoff on the far side, matched up one-on-one with Berg. Curls around, looking for some help. Trying to get it to Hansen. Hansen comes away with it. Could not hook back up, though, with Hoff. This one will drop around the 50 and is then headed forward by Vanette. Spartans just trying to crack through the Shanley midfield, not finding a lot of success, though, as this one will roll out of bounds. Manuel will take the throw-in.
Yeah, we've had one exciting leak out for both teams thus far, but obviously right now the passes aren't exactly the problem, Jed. I think right now it's really just a testament to great defensive play from both teams. That's why we haven't really seen a goal yet. So obviously something that you're not going to complain about. Maybe you're not getting a lot of goals on the board, but that really is just a big credit to the defensive play from both teams.
Yeah, both teams continue to be very strong defensively, like you said, and neither offense quite found their groove, although I think we've seen Shanley come into their own a little bit here with the addition of Kelsch onto the field. North was dominating play, though, for a good chunk of time here in the first half, so it would not surprise me if the field starts to tilt back the other way, as it so often does in games like this.
Yes, exactly. It seems right as we mentioned that the ball really seemed to be on the Deacons' defensive end of the field a lot. They kind of flipped, and, you know, it might just be one of those games where it just really flips back and forth a lot. A lot of back and forth action for both teams.
That ball going to take an awkward bounce around Hansen, so Mackenzie Hansen from North will play this one forward. Emineth tracks it down, working against Hell again. Emineth and Hell go at it. Hell puts it out of bounds, but a whistle against Emineth that time, and it should be a penalty kick here from North.
A few more substitutions coming into the game. It looks like one for Fargo North and two for the Shanley Deacons. It looks like for sure Elsa Wambach, and it looks like we might have a new substitution as well. Or it might be Abby Promisberg as well. I'm not 100% sure yet. I'm sure we'll find out soon.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, Mason, as I got the little blue pullover covering the number. But like you said, two substitutions here for Shanley, and it does sure seem like Shanley's been subbing more than Fargo North has. I don't know if that's, I'm not sure if that's so much a depth thing for North as much as they just feel like they don't need to sub as much. Shanley has a good rotation of girls, and they like to do short bursts. They really like to play them in short increments to keep everyone fresh. So I think it's just two maybe differing philosophies as Kelsch tries the through ball up to Huber that won't go.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely two different philosophies. I think it's the same in every single sport. Obviously, it just really comes down to coaching style, because there's the benefit of being fresh and having those fresh legs, but there's also a benefit to just you're not coming off the bench and you're not cold. You're already in the rhythm of the game and things like that. So obviously benefits, pros and cons really to both sides.
Post now bringing it through the middle of the field. Solom got back on top of it, though, so she has to give it over to Hansen. Hansen trying to hook up on the near side with Allers. Allers had to try and save it from going out of bounds, and now the Spartans take possession. Hoff looking to play this one all the way over to Hansen. Manuel going to beat her to that ball, though, and send it forward. Smith with it. Huber working against her. Smith makes a nice move to get around Huber, then gives up to Hoff. Hoff working against Berg. Cuts back into the middle of the field. Great ball over to Solom, who settles it down. Solom against Post. Post able to pick her pocket. Solom and Post continue to battle. That's been a fun one to watch. But once again, Solom just gets a little too physical. It has not been blatant. It's just been, she's been the one pushing a little too hard so far.
Yeah, and we've seen a little bit of physical play thus far, but it seems like whenever there is a whistle blown, it seems like there's been both Emily Post or Solom both kind of involved here for the Deacons and Spartans.
Yeah, it's been a really good battle. Emineth and Hell as well, just in the last few minutes, has been a good one too, as Hansen tries to hook up with Kelsch. That was a tight window she tried to fit it into, just didn't quite connect. Now Heinrich will chip it forward for Shanley, going to drop right in front of Huber. Huber using the header to work her way around Smith. Now she gets it in over to Kelsch. Kelsch pinned down, though, with two Spartans on her, and then it's cleared by Vanette. Vanette able to get that one up to Hell. Hell tied up with Berg. She gives over to Hansen. Hansen with Ashley Hansen coming to her from Shanley. And now Manuel is just going to have to play that one forward and out of bounds.
Looks like our first stoppage that does not involve penalty kicks. Now both teams going to sub in a few new players, and we'll see if that affects the game at all. Get some fresh legs in there, as you mentioned earlier, Jed. New players coming in, you never really know. The new ones might be prone to a mistake, but they also might have those fresh legs that are really going to give their team a boost.
Yeah, Shanley looks like they're putting out some more of those players they started the game with here. With about 12 minutes left, you're probably getting into that final push of the first half. You want your best girls out there to try and make a run, as Kelsch is generating some space, trying to center this one to Huber. Huber with it, puts one on net and scores! Hadley Huber breaks the scoreless tie with 11:45 left in the first off of a beauty of a pass from Tabby Kelsch.
You know, I couldn't say that better myself, Jed. Beautiful play from Tabby Kelsch to really initiate and get things going, but also look at the control there from Hadley Huber, just composed, gets that ball and just finds the back of the net right past the goaltender. Beautiful play for Kelsch on the setup, and as well, beautiful finish from Hadley Huber.
Yeah, a real nice job there, Mason. Like you said, Huber was able to settle down down. A hot pass there. Kelsch, though, with a beauty of a pass, like I said, though, she was in a tight window, and Huber had to make the goal there with the left foot. Just a great play overall from both those players for Shanley.
For sure, and you saw that from Huber. She seems quite a bit taller than a lot of the players out there. She really is only about 5'9", 5'10", as obviously we've seen on the basketball court and things like that, but she does look a little bit bigger out on the soccer field, obviously just using that height to her advantage and really just is able to almost be a little bit more physical as well. You see that a lot of the bigger players out on the field, and she obviously did a great job of doing it there.
Yeah, Mason, absolutely. That was one of the first things I noticed. I don't know if maybe North just doesn't have a very big roster, but yeah, she looks a lot taller than most of the girls here tonight. And like you said, I think she really used that to her advantage there, playing that one down off her chest, as that was a great opportunity for Anderson. Could not quite get it under control that time, as it'll now roll out of bounds off of North.
Yeah, and we mentioned those substitutions. We said maybe somebody made a mistake, maybe it was just a fresh boost, but obviously we called her right on the dot there, Jed. A goal right away, almost immediately after they come in.
Doing our jobs well tonight, Mason.
I guess so.
So the Spartans are looking to answer here, doing a good job of it, keeping the play down on the Shanley side. They've been close, but the last few minutes it was Shanley who was really putting the pressure on, and like you saw just a minute ago, finally broke this tie. North, though, such an experienced team like we talked about, a 1-0 deficit, not going to make them panic at all.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to take a lot more than that for these Fargo North Spartans to get rattled. They do have a lot of composure, a lot of experience, so they know that there's still 10 minutes left in this first half as well as the entire second half, so a lot of time left for both teams. Can't really get too much out of a rhythm. You can't really change your play style too much at just a 1-0 game, Jed.
For sure, as now we've got a substitution for North. Anderson will check out as Solberg comes in. Solberg, one of those starters, as North is probably trying to make that final push here with their starting players like the Deacons are. Solberg will throw in now for the Spartans. Not seeing anything right now, so she'll just give it off to Baki on the near side. Baki immediately, though, going to lose it over to Wambach. Touch and go pass attempt that time from Kelsch does not connect, so Solberg will give over to Baki, who will throw in. Baki could not get that one over the head of post. Spartans do come away with it, though. Now Hoff curling around. Hoff working it across field, trying to switch fields that time. Not going to work. Swanson picks up a loose ball at center, trying to connect with Watson that time, and that's way out of reach of Watson. And Manuel will throw in now for Shanley on the far side.
Yeah, it looks like the front four of the Shanley Deacons is really starting to give Fargo North a little bit of trouble, Jed. You see Post, Kelsch, Huber, and Promsberger all starting to really kind of work together and connect on some of those passes.
Yeah, the field definitely feels a bit more open than it did throughout the first part of this first half. It just feels like there's a lot more green space for the Shanley forwards to work with.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that really has to do with senior Tabby Kelsch. She's kind of just the catalyst of a lot of things, and we mentioned she's going to play a big role for the Deacons, and she really did it there, setting up that goal, and she hopefully will continue to do it for Deacon fans. But if you're a Fargo North Spartan fan, you're maybe wondering maybe if they could open her grad party back up or something.
Kelsch chasing after this one, as you were just talking about her. She's unable to get to it, though. Hoff has it for North. Hoff with not a lot of options. A nice little ball that time intended for Watson on the far side, but Manuel was there to break it up yet again for Shanley. Smith with it for North, trying to get back over to Hoff. Huber comes in to intercept, and now Huber curls around looking to make something happen over to Kelsch. Kelsch tried to go right back to Huber, but Swanson got in there, got a foot on it for North as it'll roll out of bounds.
Yeah, some nice give-and-go passing. We've kind of seen both teams, as we mentioned, a little shaky to start, but they've really started to kind of find their groove, and I think we're going to see a lot more shots on goals for both teams going forward.
So, quick throw-in now from Wambach, looking for Kelsch. Baki thought it was last touch by Kelsch. Referee indicates otherwise, so we got another throw-in now for the Deacons. Mattern looking. 7:45 left here in the first. That one going to be headed away by Baki, then sent forward by Swanson. Hell with it. She tried to get that one back over to Kenninger. Doesn't go for that time, and now Grieger will have to put it out of bounds for North.
Yeah, and we saw the header there from Elise Baki. Obviously, that's one player that could maybe give Hadley Huber a run in the height department. You're probably not going to win very many headers over her. A nice play from her on that last throw-in.
Yeah, that might be a matchup we see more of, as you saw the height advantage pay off for Huber on the lone goal here. Perhaps they'll try and use Baki a bit to counteract that. As this awkward ball, did that find its way in? Yes, it did! I think that was post!
What a fantastic play there from Emily Post. Looked like a little bit of a deflection, but as we mentioned earlier, anytime you can get the shot really in on the net, good things are going to happen for your team, and no better example than right there from Emily Post.
That is a backbreaker for North, as Post was just trying to put that one back in the face of Baki. I think Post put it off the foot of Baki. It took a crazy deflection, and you saw the face of Gemtrude really says it all there if you're North. What are the odds of that one finding its way in?
For sure, and I think that a large part of that ball really finding the back of the net had to do with the fact that it was a deflection. If you're Gemtrude, you kind of saw her almost pause for a second. She definitely thought that was going over the net, but it had a different spin than a normal shot would, so she thought it was going over the net, but in reality it was just had the perfect trajectory to find just the top left corner of the net.
Absolutely, Mason. It's really that spin, like you said, because of the deflection, it had some real weird spin to it, and like you said, Gemtrude, I think, thought she had it tracked, and all of a sudden it took one last little curve there at the end. That really stings if you're North, because you were doing a good job shutting Shanley down. They had him hemmed into that corner. Deacons were not getting much going. Post just trying to put that one back in the face of Baki. She was trying to hold the zone. Ends up being a goal. That one really does hurt if you're the Spartans.
But one bright thing that you do really have to look forward to if you are a Fargo North Spartan fan, I know when you're talking about low-scoring sporting events such as soccer and hockey and other things like that, whenever you watch a hockey game and you see a team get up 2-0, they always do mention, I'll come back to this, Jed, after this.
Well, yeah, we do have a good opportunity. I see where you're going with it, though, Mason, as now the Spartans look to respond. Not much going to come of that one, but a nice effort there from Naiseth. The 2-0 lead, though, Mason, the hardest lead in sports, they say.
Exactly, and they always mention that because if you're the Fargo North Spartans here and you can find a way to get that first goal with a reasonable amount of time left on the clock, you all of a sudden have the momentum, and only being down one goal from there really gets things going. So, yeah, a 2-0 lead, very good for the leading team, but also not always the worst thing for a team if you're trailing as well.
Absolutely. It's trying to find the silver lining there, Mason, and certainly 2-0 is not an insurmountable lead by any means, as this ball takes another awkward bounce, and Gemtrude will cover up. Yeah, it's, I think, the way that goal was scored that really hurts more than anything, but North knows they're capable of putting up easily 2 goals or more. They've had plenty of games where they've been at 2 goals or more, so really you just have to limit Shanley's opportunities here. They were doing a good job of it, unfortunately. You saw that one goal just kind of fluky found its way in, so they just got to keep doing more of the same. One thing, though, offensively, they still have not really found the groove. So far, really all they've had, it seems like Abby Naiseth has been the catalyst. It seems like she's kind of been on her own, though, for a lot of this game up there.
Yeah, and it's not like they're not doing a great job of getting the ball to her, but right. I think, as we mentioned earlier, it's just the defensive play that's really just been very, very tough. Manuel back there, Heinrich, we've seen some great plays from both of them early on, and there just hasn't really been much opportunity for the Spartans to really penetrate and get shots on net.
For sure, and perhaps that might require a scheme change, maybe put a couple more girls forward, play more of an offensive role. That's certainly something I think that the coaching staff will look at halftime here.
Yeah, exactly. You always have to have a few different formations that you're willing to run, because a 2-0 lead, you can't really sit back and play defense as much. You're not going to win if you don't put a few balls in the back of the net.
Right. There's a fine line between abandoning your game plan and just being complacent. You kind of got to find you got to make adjustments. You just can't go overboard, and that's certainly something I think the North staff knows.
Exactly, and that'll be a key halftime adjustment for them. You don't want to overdo it too much, where you're too aggressive on the offensive end and you leave just a very volatile back end. But obviously, you're going to have to ramp up the offensive pressure in some way going in to the second half. So that's obviously one big halftime adjustment that we'll have to look for from the Spartans.
Deacons trying to work that one into North territory, but it's sent way downfield. Good clear here for the Spartans, as Deacons are going to have to give chase. Now on the far side, Shanley trying to work it out of their zone. Watson had it there for North, lost it. I don't think intentionally, as it started to curl out. She could not quite hold it in. It's a tough break there for the Spartans, losing that one. Now with 3:32 remaining in the first half.
Yeah, in this 3 minutes and 32 seconds, if you're Fargo North, obviously you do not want to let up another goal on defense and go down 0-3 going into the half. If you could find the back of the net, that would be great. But really, if you're North, I think you're just really looking to get to halftime here. Down 0-2, you can make those halftime adjustments, compose yourself, and really get ready to come out hot starting the second half.
For sure, I think you're right. I think at this point, North would be happy to just get to that break, as Shanley's putting some pressure on. Promisberger's ball is blocked. Wambach on it. Baki going to be able to make the play here, though, as it rolls out of bounds. And I think Wambach actually was the last one to touch it, so a really nice play there by Baki, actually making the 8th grader for Shanley put it out of bounds.
Yeah, one thing I've kind of picked up on here, whenever the ball seems to go out, Grieger's been the one to take those goal kicks for the Spartans, but I don't know if you've noticed yet, but maybe just from my eye especially, seeing those punts from Gemtrude thus far, they're going a lot farther than most goalies that we see here in women's soccer really be able to punt that ball. I've seen some go well past the 50-yard line, which is pretty crazy, I think, especially for a high school goalie.
Yeah, Gemtrude's been really good with those, like you said, Mason. She's just one of those girls, though. She's such an athlete. Another one of those multi-sport athletes for Fargo North that just kind of got that raw ability. She's got just some great power on that ball, like you said, and she's played a pretty solid game. You can't really blame her, I don't think, for that second goal. You know, it's just when it takes such an awkward bounce like that, and the first one, she was looking at a 2-on-1 about 5 feet in front of her.
Exactly.
So, you don't love letting up 2 goals here in the first, but to a degree, there's not much she could really do about them.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Tim Howard against Belgium back in the World Cup could have stopped that. I don't know if you remember that when he had about 14 saves in one half of soccer, but that was just obviously almost a wide open net, and it's just a very easy opportunity, and Hadley obviously did a great job of converting.
Trying to show off that soccer knowledge there, Mason.
I may have been, Jed.
Referencing back to that one game.
Yeah.
That one game you watched.
Yes, hey, I always love turning on the World Cup when it comes. It's going to be sad that the men won't be able to turn it on, but at least we have our women's team to cheer on, Jed.
Yeah, a very good women's team at that. Like you said, unfortunate the men for the U.S. aren't in it. I think a surprising turn of events there that they did not qualify, but we are not lacking in a women's team that will compete. Very strong U.S. women's team. So Shanley now trying to get this one across midfield. Yeah, that was an awkward collision there.
That looked kind of scary. I'm glad they both got up. Looked a little weird, maybe just up from the booth, but it's always good that when you see one of those awkward collisions that both of them get up like nothing happened at all.
Yeah, it was Watson that time who kind of went down hard, and she was right up after that one, as now we've got less than a minute left here in the first half. Nice job there by Hansen to work it through the legs that time of Solom, but Solom ultimately will come away with it. She just puts it way across field, let it roll out of bounds now with just a little over 40 seconds left.
Yep, and like we mentioned earlier, they've got about 9 girls back right now, the Spartans do, and I think they're really just playing for halftime here, which I think is a very smart move, especially for them. The momentum isn't exactly their way, but as you see, stoppage times are always big, and just really composing themselves and getting ready for the next period of play.
Yeah, you never want to give up on a play or a half, but you also just kind of have to recognize when things aren't going your way, and when you have that stoppage coming up, like you said, sometimes you just have to use that to your advantage, try to wipe the slate clean, and yeah, like you said, just kind of going back here, getting into the shell, just getting out of this half.
Exactly.
This ball going to be put downfield by Manuel, should roll out, and the clock will hit 0 as we are done with the first half. After one half of play, it's a 2-0 lead for the Shanley Deacons. Mason, any thoughts here on what we might see adjustment-wise from these two teams?
Yeah, obviously you're going to need, Fargo North is just going to have to come out really firing on both ends. Obviously they're going to need to ramp up the offensive play, but also they can't let players like Huber and Kelsch really loose on the back end, because they're going to really need to definitely score the first goal of the second half, otherwise they might be in really big trouble, Jed.
All right, some things to look at there. Thank you, Mason. We'll step away for just a few minutes here, but don't go anywhere. Plenty more soccer action coming up in just a couple minutes. Good evening, folks, and welcome back to North Dakota High School Girls Soccer Action. I'm Jed Thomas, of course, joined by Mason Timian, as we're getting set here for the second half of soccer action between the Shanley Deacons and the Fargo North Spartans. It's a 2-0 lead for the Deacons, but folks, before we get back to the action, we do want to take a minute to remind you that Shanley TV is made possible in part by the Shanley Athletic Club and their generous members. Check out their website today at shanleyathletic.com to learn how your membership contributes to Shanley TV, the Deacon Den, and many other student-athlete needs. While you're there, be sure to renew your annual membership by clicking the Join Now button, or become a member if you're not one already. It's easy to become a member, and anyone can join, so sign up today. The Shanley Athletic Club, taking Deacon athletics to a higher level. And folks, as we get back to it now, got 40 more minutes of soccer to go. Mason, we talked about some of the adjustments we thought both teams would make. So what are your expectations here in the second half? A whole more 40 minutes to play. A lot can happen.
I'm really expecting Fargo North to really come out with an edge that we did not see from them in the first half. Obviously, they were undefeated. They've worked really hard to obtain that record so far, and I don't think they're just going to let the Deacons really run away with that for the second half. So really, I expect them to try to get as many shots on net early on, and if they can get a goal, obviously momentum in the whole aspect of the game really changes.
I definitely agree with you, Mason. When you've got a team with so much experience on it like North has down in a position like this, I think you're going to see a really good response. Teams like this just do not go away easily, and so it'll be fun to see what they do here to start things off. As that ball's going to roll out of bounds, so right off the bat, going to have a throw in here for Fargo North. That ball quickly finds its way to Abby Hoff. Hoff able to work it over to Swanson. Swanson now through the middle of the field, gets that one off over to Grieger. Grieger all the way across now to Baki on the far side of the field. Baki going to bring it up. Pressure put on by Hansen from Shanley. Hansen, great job forcing Baki into a bit of an error that time as it rolls out of bounds. Last touch by the Spartans.
Another thing I forgot to mention there, Jed, obviously the Deacons, I think one thing they really should focus on is obviously having a lead at halftime is something that is very big and something that is very delicate as well. Obviously, we mentioned that they do have a very young team, so especially going into the postseason here soon, it's really important to just see if they can really hold a 2-0 lead against a great team like Fargo North.
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, like you said, Mason, this will be a really good test to see just how good they are as we got a shot on net here. Had a bit of an opportunity that time, but it's a little high. But yeah, I think this is a really good test to see how good they actually are, whether or not it's just a hot start or if they're the real deal. The other big thing here for Shanley, I think we got to see is I think they got to keep the pedal to the metal,
Exactly.
Got to keep your foot on the gas, because if you let up against a team like North, a 2-0 lead is not safe against a team like this.
I think that's something that they have to keep an eye on too. Is I remember the scrimmage against Cheyenne. Obviously, I'm sure Deacon fans wish that would have counted on their record. Did not count towards the record, but Tabby Kelch actually netted a hat trick in the first half alone, but up 3-0 at halftime. The final score ended up actually being 3-2. So last time they did have a big halftime lead. They did kind of let it down. So let's see if they've improved on that. And obviously, if you're a Deacon fan, you really hope that they have.
Yeah, that's a huge thing to watch. And, going back to that performance by Kelch and really that performance by the team, that was, I think, our first big indicator that this Shanley squad was not as far behind as we thought they would be, because that was a Cheyenne team that won the East last year and did not lose a single player from that squad that won the EDC.
Exactly, and I actually recalled that game, if you remember that, when they came to Shanley last year. It was Cheyenne and Shanley, and so that was the last time that we did actually call a soccer game together. And I remember we kept mentioning that all juniors, not a single senior. So that's obviously a huge moment for the Shanley Deacons early on in the year. A lot of youth, a lot of graduating seniors from last year that were not coming back, and to just early on beat Cheyenne in a game like that early in the season really shows that, oh, wait, maybe this doesn't have to be a rebuilding year.
Absolutely, Mason. Well said. So now we see North able to get this ball on the Shanley side of the field, trying to apply the pressure here. Didn't quite come out to a fast start, but neither team really did. It's been just kind of back and forth play. No one's really crossing midfield very much as this ball is going to roll back, be sent forward by Manuel. That ball by Manuel taken by Vanette. Nice ball from Vanette, finds its way over to Watson. Spot on passing that time, but a miscommunication. That ball was overrun by both Smith and Hoff, and it ends up in control of Shanley. It's a tough break there for North, as now Mattern has it on the far side, but Mattern has her pocket picked, and now it's an opportunity for the Spartans. Bringing it forward now. Good feed inside, but she's going to be knocked off that one. It was Naiseth who had another great opportunity. Good defense, though, prevails for the Deacons. Still an opportunity. Metzger will have to cover off that kick from Solom, and Shanley avoids any damage from that rush.
Yeah, and you saw an early leak out there. Obviously something, if you're a Fargo North fan, you're very happy to see, but also, Shanley Deacons did a very good job of defending that and a very easy save there.
Yeah, they really have a good last line of defense. You know, even when those midfielders and some of the defenders playing up, even when they get beat, they always seem to have one or two girls back there to save the day.
And we saw that speed of eminence. She actually did start the second half. We talked about she is not a starter. Obviously, they do change up the lineup a little bit, but we did see that speed there in play.
Great double move from Hoff, sprung this rush, but the ball from Watson was knocked out by Manuel. And on that last little rush, you saw Solberg pick the pocket and matter, and that's the second time we've seen her do that. She's really good at just kind of flying in there and taking the ball away. That's something. The freshman has more than held her own, don't get me wrong, but that is something she's just going to have to watch for from a crafty senior. This ball put into the Shanley zone, not much to it. Deacons have numbers, as now it's going to bounce loose and going to be picked up here by Watson. Watson right around the 30, plays it forward. No one really home for North, as Manuel will just clear it out of bounds. 35-20 left here in the second half now.
Yeah, and one thing you have to really kind of keep an eye on, obviously the defense for Shanley, one thing I'd love to see from any soccer team is whenever there's a lot of pressure applied on them, they're very comfortable in just kicking the ball out of bounds, which is something that maybe is a little boring if you're a fan, but if you're trying to straight up just win soccer games, it's a very smart move to make because you're just really letting everybody compose themselves once again, and it's a lot harder to score at that point.
Look at these moves here. Naismith making things happen, gets it on net, and it's just poked away by Metzger. But my gosh, Naismith pulled off about a dozen moves there before she finally shot the ball. That was incredible.
Yeah, that was an incredible just display of footwork right there. I mean, I for sure thought she was going to bury that, but obviously a great save there from Molly Metzger. Just barely poked that out. Obviously not the tallest goalie ever, but she perfectly timed her jump and did a great job of saving a goal there for the Deacons.
I mean, we have talked about, how much Naismith has done here, kind of working on her own a lot. That is a definition of making things happen all by yourself. Just incredible as Swanson now has the corner kick immediately eaten up there by Metzger.
Yeah, and that actually looked like a really good corner there from Swanson. I'm surprised we didn't see a little bit more action there, maybe a header from somebody somewhere, but a nice save nevertheless by Metzger.
Yeah, Mason, that's a good point. North not really crashing the net maybe as much as they should be there. I think maybe part of that, that is their first corner of the evening, and sometimes it takes a little while to get into your groove there. I kind of saw that with Shanley. Their first few weren't quite as successful. So if North can get that opportunity again, I think we'll see them try and capitalize a bit more.
Yeah, I'm sure that especially their fans would really like to see that, because if you're down 2-0, you really have nothing to lose on crashing the net on a thing like a corner kick.
Yeah, and those corners are just so huge, just great opportunities. I don't want to let those slip by. Wambach going to sub on here for Shanley along with Berg as Manuel will throw in. Wambach has been a real bright spot here for Shanley this season, just an 8th grader, but she's been one of their better forwards. Just another sign of the bright future it seems like this team has.
Yes, for sure. I mean, for only an 8th grader, her composure out there is just remarkable. She's done a fantastic job. She just doesn't really seem to be rattled by older players coming up on her all the time.
And it's really clear that she's got an immense skill set. She's one of those players where you can just see she's just really scratching the surface. You have to imagine of what she's capable of.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously this being her second year in the program, and obviously 4 more to go after this, definitely something that the coaches, I'm sure, are happy about.
Nice little takeaway that time by Heinrich as Berg is trying to bring it forward. Good pressure applied that time, though, by Solom. But once again, she is going to get the whistle, and it'll be a penalty kick for Shanley. Solom, it hasn't been anything bad. She's not shoving anyone to the ground, but she's just going a step too far, getting a little too physical, especially up high, a couple pushes, and that's cost her a couple good opportunities. Otherwise, though, she's been doing everything she needs to be.
Yep. And, from my perspective, Jed, I almost like to see those just a little bit. That just shows that she's being aggressive and she's trying to make something happen. So, if you have to take that versus someone who's just going to let somebody run away with the ball, obviously you're going to take somebody who's aggressive because obviously she's done her fair share as well. But she has had the whistle blown on her a few times, but really just as a result of being a little bit too aggressive, but not the worst thing in the world.
And I suppose the other thing about that is she really hasn't taken any of those in bad spots. I think just about every call that's gone against her has been at about midfield, where it matters, but it's really not all that important if you're getting the penalty kick given up there. So she's being smart about it, I think.
For sure.
This ball going to be played across the field, picked up by Huber. Huber now trying to feed Promisberger on the near side. Promisberger works her way through a couple North defenders, but then goes down. A little contact there with Watson. No call. I think a good no call there, as we got 31-35 left here in the second. Throw in now for Manuel. Trying to get that one to Kelsch. And that ball is just going to be swallowed up that time by Gemtrude. Not too much of a test that time. Not much of a win to speak of today, which is a bit of a change of pace from the other games we've called this season. Usually the wind's been a pretty big factor, but finally just a calm night with a good temperature. It's kind of the first perfect night they've really had here.
Yeah, obviously no complaints about the weather. Just about a perfect temperature as well. I mean, you never want to be too cold out there or too warm as well. Obviously, you don't want to be sweating too much because then you have to deal with things like cramps. But, I mean, I don't know if there could be a better night, especially in the middle of May, to play soccer.
Yeah, really, that seems to be the case, Mason. And part of that might be why we haven't seen many substitutions. You know, the last game we did was the first hot game I think I've seen all season, and I saw a lot more subbing from both squads. But tonight it's been fairly light. Shanley's sticking to their usual routine, but North seems content with a pretty small group of girls. Swanson has it in the corner there for North, just going to clear that one out of bounds, as Shanley continues to work this one deep into Spartan territory.
Yeah, and, you know, almost reaching the 10 minutes into the second half, you know, Jed, not much has really seemed to change, and I hope that if you're a Fargo North fan, you maybe see something here soon. Maybe they just need a spark. You know, we've seen Naiseth making a few plays out there, almost netting one early in the second half for the Spartans, but somebody somewhere is really going to need to make a play to really get this Fargo North team going, because Shanley, they seem like they really do have their foot on the gas, so something's going to have to change somewhere.
Nice header there from Huber, trying to generate an opportunity, although it goes wide of the net. So Baki will kick this one away for the Spartans. Bit of a change-up. You mentioned in the first half, usually it's Grieger who's taking those for the Spartans, but they got Baki on this one here as she keeps it low and close, and that one not going to quite work out for her, although Grieger will get the clear now. Solom back with it. Up the middle of the field, that ball is going to be knocked away by Promisberger. The pass from Hoff was broken up that time by the freshman from Oak Grove. And now the Spartans are just going to have to play this one out of bounds, try to catch their breath.
Yeah, and, you know, that was one of those plays from Promisberger, just a little unnatural, but at the same time, everything that she does is just very graceful out there. You can really see her athleticism when she's out there on the field, and to see that she's only a freshman, I mean, I really think that the sky is a limit for one of those players like Promisberger moving forward, just because of her supreme athleticism. It's already on display as a freshman playing against a lot of older competition. She does not seem out of place whatsoever, Jed.
For sure, Mason. I think the one knock on her game is I think occasionally she tends to disappear for stretches, but that's so common of a freshman who's just kind of trying to find their legs still. And the thing is, you know, when she disappears, she pretty often finds her way back with just an incredible move. She's got some great footwork, almost reminiscent of what Abby Naiseth is capable of. I think Naiseth, maybe the senior, is maybe a good representation of what Promisberger could shape up to be.
Yeah, you know, I couldn't agree more with that, Jed. I remember the Davies game. She just pulled a move out of nowhere. Everyone was like, wow, what just happened? It was a beautiful goal from Promisberger, and that ended up being the goal that the Deacons needed to tie Fargo Davies, obviously the team that beat them last year in the state championship.
I remember that goal very well, Mason. I think anyone who saw it did. 28-10 left here in the second, as Shanley's doing a great job keeping this ball in North territory. Spartans had a stretch there where they were generating some chances, but since then it's been all Shanley here. Not really getting a lot of great shots, but they're dominating time of possession, and when you're holding the lead, that's really all you care about, just burning clock.
Yeah, and it looks like Lydia Mattern might actually be subbing in to play a little bit of midfield, a little bit more of an offensive role than what Mattern is used to seeing. Obviously, Tabby Kelch getting her first breaks and showing up a little bit late to the game, as well as Abby Promisberger. So two of the more formidable offensive weapons, but also at the same time subbing in two of your best defensive players.
Yeah, and I think that's a position we're not surprised to see Mattern at, as she pulls a nice move there. Mattern's got such an offensive capability to her game, as this shot from post actually finds its way all the way to Gemtrude, who has to make the save. But Mattern, you'll often see her take the ball. Those midfielders will dump it back to her on defense, and she'll try to penetrate the opposing team's defensive schemes, because she's just got a real nose for the offensive side of things. So she offers a very nice balance between a good defensive game and strong offense.
Exactly. You know, going back, you mentioned that shot from post. I absolutely love that shot from post. You know, obviously with a player like Huber, we mentioned her size earlier and her ability to really control the ball. Great play from post, really just to put the ball in net, because you never know, maybe Hadley's going to head that and redirect it, and you never know what's going to find in the back of the net, as we found out earlier when she did have that deflected goal that did find the back of the net.
Right, Post has really just been shooting her shot all night. She's taken a lot of shots from way out, and not in a bad way, like you said. They've tested Gemtrude. We had the one deflection. She just seems to subscribe to that philosophy. You know, the more balls you get on net, the higher your chances are of getting a goal, and it's really worked out for her.
Exactly. You know, shoot, Jed, and obviously she's doing a great job of shooting, and obviously, as Wayne Gretzky once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and I really think that Emily Post does live by that motto.
Absolutely, Mason. As now Hansen is going to try to get that one over to Wambach. Might be just out of reach. Wambach, though, with some nice speed, able to hold that one in bounds. I got to tell you, I don't know how she caught that one. Although now Baki is going to take it away and show off some nice moves of her own. Good little intercept there for Post as now she collides with Baki. Bit of chaotic play going down in the corner. No whistle there. I think both teams were expecting it. Post goes down again, and finally a clear. Maybe we can catch our breath here after some funny play in that corner.
Yeah, and we mentioned Emily Post, obviously the high IQ and the fundamentals earlier, but we saw on display there a very high motor, and she's always working extremely hard.
There's a move from Hoff across midfield. Great work from Hansen to get in there and break that pass up, though. Battle in the center of the field now. It's going to be won by the Deacons as Emineth comes away with it, accelerating forward. Swanson able to take it away. Swanson now bringing it in. She finds Anderson on the near side, and then that one's poked forward by Manuel. Mattern tried to track it down. She could not, though.
Yeah, and it seems like Olivia Manuel has been there every single time the North team seems to really get anything going whatsoever. Manuel has really been there just with solid play all night, Jed.
Yeah, she's really kind of the leader of that defensive core as just a sophomore. You can also make an argument for Heinrich, though, I should say. She's a bit maybe more of a defensive defenseman, but she's quite good as well. I think that duo is really the heart and soul, not just of the defense, but honestly this team, I think, in general.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that, Jed. And just obviously with so many bright spots in the defense, there's just a lot to be very positive about with the Deacons.
You saw a real nice move there from Abby Hoff. Took place right in front of a quite large North student section. That generated a loud reaction. Unfortunately for her, though, not able to get too much to come of that as Shanley was able to lock down on it. And now this one is going to be played back into the North zone. Huber applied some pressure there as it goes out of bounds, last touch by the Spartans.
Looks like they might have. Oh, never mind. She's just giving the ball to Manuel. I thought they may have changed the call there on Hubert. Looks like there's a little deflection going on late, but it will be Deacon ball.
Yeah, that was. I actually thought the same thing there, Mason. And now I think we're just going to see a substitution here for the Deacons.
Looks like they're going to bring Tabby Kelsch back in as well as Promisberger, so obviously getting those two offensive weapons. And I think we are also going to see Mattern moving back to a defensive spot as well. You see her jogging back to midfield, and Tabby Kelsch going to come back into that midfield forward position that she does play so well.
Well, Mattern is listed as a defenseman and a forward on the roster, but I think it's a bit it's a bit surprising because we've only seen her play defense this season. I think maybe as some other players have emerged as the season has gone on, they're starting to experiment with her more in that forward midfield role that they thought she'd be able to play before the season started.
And obviously with the great defensive play of players, obviously Heinrich and Manuel, who we've talked about a lot tonight, as well as Emineth, with them playing so well, you can really experiment with other players and really move them around and see what's going to be the best fit for the team moving forward.
For sure. I talked about how, it's kind of crazy Emineth isn't a starter. It speaks to the depth of the D-core, and maybe the Shanley coaching staff realizing that is just thinking, let's get our best 11 girls out there. Mattern can play a different position. Why not see what she can do there, get Emineth in? As you see, that shot's just going to go wide right that time.
Exactly, and you're just really looking to find that best mesh of 11 players on the field, and just because you've been a defenseman all your life doesn't mean that you can't move around and play other positions. We saw that a lot with our boys soccer team in the fall. Really just you have to move people around until you find your best fit and what's the best for the team, not just certain individuals.
Absolutely. Can think of no better example than Brent Burns, the San Jose Sharks forward for the first about 5 or 6 years of his career, moved back to defense and ended up scoring far more points than he ever did as a forward. And that's true of a lot of sports in general. I think soccer, you can see the similarities with hockey in that regard. Oftentimes a great player can move between that forward and defense position. Hansen now going to spring that ball forward to Promisberger. Promisberger couldn't quite get control. Now the Spartans look to play it forward. Ball that time intended for Naismith. She couldn't catch up to it. Deacons trying to lock it down in their own territory. And now Emineth will send it forward to Kelsch, who has that one knocked off her foot by Swanson. Post with a great play to get that one around. It was Solberg that time crashing to try and take it away. Deacons in control once again at about the 45. Ball upfield. Promisberger chasing after it. Now this one's going to roll out of bounds off of North. Olivia Manuel will throw in here for Shanley as we've got an even 22 minutes left to go here. Time has run down, it seems like, pretty fast here in the second half. Obviously when we started, 40 minutes to get 2 goals, that's very doable. And still with 22 minutes, it's more than doable. But you do kind of start to wonder if you're North, you really want to try and get one of those goals here, probably in the next 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to do it too late. You're really just looking to find some sort of offensive penetration, no matter how you can find it. Fargo North just needs to find a spark spark somewhere. Naiseth has obviously done a great job of getting a few shots on goal, but at some point they're just going to need to string a few passes together and try to find the back of the net somehow to get a little bit of momentum going their way.
And, Shanley, to a degree, has kind of let Naiseth run in the middle of the field. They've allowed her to run free, and what they've really done is lock down on those wings. They've clamped down on Solberg and Watson, and so they've taken away kind of those more setup players who give Naiseth the opportunities. So, they're saying, yeah, we'll let Naiseth run because who's going to give her the ball if we lock down the wings? And that's a strategy that's worked really well for them.
Yeah, and that's a strategy they used to use on Michael Jordan back in the day when they play. They'd just say, hey, instead of game planning for a great player, just let them do their thing and worry about everybody else, because you really just have to focus on maybe one player can't beat me by themselves. If you just focus on just playing overall just great team as a team, obviously you're going to do just as well.
Right, one player can't do it on their own, no matter how good they are. Unless maybe you're LeBron James,
yeah,
it seems
I know.
like.
It does seem like that as of late, Jed. Speaking of that, any thoughts moving into the conference finals in both the Eastern and the Western conferences? You think you got the Celtics, the Cavs? Do you have the Rockets, the Warriors? What are you thinking?
As much as it pains me to say it, as I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, I do not see the Celtics winning more than maybe 2 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Western Conference is anyone's game, and that to me feels like really the championship.
Yeah, for sure. I do like to give our beloved social studies teacher and basketball coach, Mr. Burns, a lot of crap that the Celtics are going to beat the Cavs. But in reality, it's going to be very tough for any team to beat LeBron, obviously, with what he's doing right now in the postseason. And obviously there are a lot of Warriors fans out there. And personally, I would like to see their dynasty kind of come to an end. So I don't care if it's the Rockets, the Celtics, or the Cavs. I just would really like to see somebody else hold up that Larry O'Brien trophy this year.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, as Naiseth has a good opportunity, but there are 3 Shanley defenders right on her that time. And locked down once again. And Mason, might I say, we are just really full of the intersport analogies here tonight. We've connected hockey, basketball. We're just all over the place.
And if we're talking about other sports, if you did notice today, Tiger Woods did make the cut at the Players. If we're talking about other sports, we might as well touch that. I'm a big golf fan. Obviously, you got to love Tiger, what he's done for the sport. Really good to see that he made a cut at one of the big tournaments, probably the biggest tournament other than one of the 4 majors.
Yeah, absolutely, especially coming off of a kind of disappointing Masters performance. He was so hot coming into the Masters. Everyone started to think he could actually win it, and then a bit of a disappointing performance. It's nice to see him, just even performing moderately well here at the Players, just to build up some confidence as the other majors are around the corner.
Exactly, and just to see him start to get any momentum going whatsoever. People need to remember this man has a fused back, and he wasn't able to walk a year ago. So what he's doing, that alone is remarkable. So, but hopefully people would like to see, even if he's, the shadow of what he once was, win a few tournaments. Nothing would be better for the sport of golf.
Yeah, the shadow of Tiger Woods is still probably a top 10 golfer all time.
Exactly.
That's just Tiger for you. But absolutely, that's something fun to watch. It should be a fun summer golf-wise, a lot of storylines. But a fun night of soccer going on right in front of us right now. Not a lot has been happening here really for most of the second half. Shanley's done a great job of keeping the action, not even so much on the north side, but in midfield. Swanson there doing her best to just keep the ball in the zone. I like the strategy there. She just does not want that ball to get past about the 35 because she knows when it does, it's going to be a long time before they get it back in the Shanley zone.
Yeah, and another very intelligent play there from Olivia Manuel. It looked like Anderson from North thought that she was going to maybe try to control it in some sort of way, but Manuel was perfectly content with letting that roll to the back of the net. Goal kick, a lot better situation than having the ball in the corner. Another great play there from sophomore Olivia Manuel.
Yeah, we talk so much about her, and she's got a lot of great abilities out there, really good speed, really good fundamentals, but that soccer IQ, you talk about those decisions she makes is just something else for a sophomore. It's honestly kind of unbelievable. She just is so good at processing the game. It seems like faster than everyone around her.
Yeah, it looks like Hadley here, we're a little bit frustrated with the call there. It looks like there may have just been some incidental contact, but obviously a foul going her way. She thought she may have been able to leak out and try to net her second goal of the night, 3rd for the Deacons. But Fargo North, 17 minutes left, Jed. They really got to get something going offensively if they want to either tie this game or win this game.
Yeah, no doubt. I think you really got to get one here before the 10-minute mark. Once you got about 10 minutes left, if you don't have one netted already, it's going to be really tough because, it sounds like a lot of time, and it is to a degree, but when you think about how long it takes to move this ball from your zone all the way across into the other team's offensive zone, that's just a ton of clock it eats up trying to make that ball move so far, and so North really got to change things sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and that's when the hated term of boot ball comes into play as well as under that 10-minute mark. Obviously, soccer players talk a lot about that, Jed, is when a team has a comfortable lead down the stretch, they can just continue to kick the ball out of bounds, and obviously, you're just trying to win the game at that point. It doesn't really matter if you're controlling the ball or not. If you just continue to kick the ball out of bounds, it's pretty hard for the other team to do something.
And as the second half goes on, Mason, I think we've really seen Shanley, they're really keeping their defense back. They're not pressing forward at all like they did more in the first half, because I think they've realized that they can really hold the zone without the help of their defense for the most part. They drop a couple midfielders back there to keep the ball in check, and they can keep that ball down in the north zone for a long time. They're leaving about 3 back right now, their whole decor, and so every time Naismith comes up with it, she just gets swarmed immediately, and it's working really well for them.
Exactly, and that just, in large part, you're able to do that because of the playmakers you have on offense. Obviously, Huber, Promisberger, Post, Kelsch. When all of them are working cohesively, there's a lot more just breathing space for the defense women to work as well.
Ball popped up high in the air that time. Anderson with the header, trying to play it back that time. Good disruptive play now deep in the north zone that time, coming from Heinrich, playing up a bit now, as Hansen will send this one all the way across over to Post. That goes off her head, and now it'll be sent back in by Mattern. Mattern's ball over the head of Kelsch, sent forward by Swanson. A whole bunch of headers being traded from both teams here, as now Hoff comes away with it.
Yeah, that header reminded me of the header goal I scored this morning in first period gym class, Jed. It's a lot of fun just to kind of get that ball moving around, and great job there from both teams.
Yeah, they were really going back and forth there that time. We've seen the headers play a pretty vital role. That one Huber goal, the first goal of this one, wasn't quite the head, but we talked about the height advantage she had. They're able to kind of play it off the shoulder, chest area, using that height advantage. That's one of the examples we've seen in this game alone.
Exactly, and anytime that ball's up there, I feel like that's really when highlight reel plays are really start to be made, obviously in the professional leagues, but also at the high school level. Anytime there's the ability for somebody to make a play, that's when great plays happen.
Yeah, I think a great example of that professionally, like you're talking about, look at a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo, who's a 6'1", which is a pretty good height for a soccer player to have. You see him use that height to his advantage so much. Just a physically big guy for soccer, and he really uses that to dominate. Total flip side, though, you got a guy like Messi, who's only about 5'7" on a good day, and he just balances out that height disadvantage with unbelievable footwork. I think that's a good example of, you can use a height to your advantage, but there's also a lot of ways to work around that, even when you're at a bit of a disadvantage, maybe.
Yes, for sure, and obviously both are the two best in the sport. Personally, I'm a Ronaldo guy. I like everything that he does, and I think that he just carries Portugal a little bit more than Messi has to carry Argentina. But obviously, both of them, two of the pioneers, and really have just put soccer on the map. Obviously, probably the biggest sport worldwide, but they're the two biggest faces in the sport as well.
A little awkward here, Mason, because I'm definitely a Messi guy. I feel like we probably should have talked about that beforehand. Not sure if we can finish this game together. That's a pretty big disagreement to have.
Yeah, we might just have to mute the mics for a little bit and maybe figure it out after the game.
This ball just going to roll back to Metzger. She's not even going to pick that one up, just going to play it with her feet that time. It's a bold move, as that one was almost jumped by Watson, but it pays off for her. And now the Deacons are going to try to move this one out of trouble. Watson doing her best, using that speed we talked about earlier. Still can't seem to generate anything over on the far side, though. This ball going to be tracked down by Solberg. Solberg with an opportunity, one-on-one with Manuel. Solberg trying to work her way around. Manuel gets in there to close it off. Nice pass from Solberg. Finds her way right out in front. Naismith with it. Trouble out in front. Girls going down left and right. Naismith wants a call. She doesn't get it. And she's not loving that as she's still down there. And North still trying to put the pressure on. Naismith, I think, might actually be cramping, as you saw her and Metzger talk there, and now Metzger's stretching the leg out, and there's sportsmanship if I've ever seen it. Wow, that's pretty impressive.
For sure, I think we might see Kelly Burns, our wonderful athletic trainer, come onto the field and help her out. He's helped me with my cramps many times, and he does a great job. So hopefully we can see her get back and playing maybe as soon as possible. Obviously, only 12 minutes and 47 seconds left in this game, Jed, but hopefully she can obviously be okay.
And that might be the best opportunity they've had all game, Mason. It started with Solberg on the near side here. She was one-on-one with Manuel, and that is not a battle you're going to win very often, but Solberg was able to just get an edge and had a beautiful centering feed. Naismith had it, but then she got locked down. Two Shanley defenders were on her immediately. That ball got lost in traffic, and she just was not able to get a clean shot off.
Yeah, no, that's just I think that just has been the story of the game so far, Jed. Hadley Huber had the ball in almost the identical position in the first half for the Deacons. No defenders in front of her. She had a wide open net. We see it there. Solberg, two defenders on her right away. She never really even had an opportunity to shoot. So obviously a testament to the great defense by the Deacons, but also a little bit of a spark from the Fargo North Spartans. Obviously they penetrated a little bit, but 12 minutes, 47 seconds left. They got to get it going. now, but a good way to get started. Hopefully they can find the back of the net soon.
Right, it's a good sign, although at this stage you have to wonder, a good sign might just not be enough. You got to start converting on those, but nonetheless, it's better than nothing, absolutely.
Exactly, and hopefully the next time that does come around, they are able to convert, but, given the great defensive play of the Deacons so far, you don't know if they're going to get another opportunity like that.
Yeah, it'll certainly be tough as clock stopped there. Clock doesn't stop often, but for an injury there, they did stop the clock. So now we're going to pick up here with 12:40 left to go in this game. Tabby Kelsch has it at midfield. She's trying to spring Huber. Huber's got a step right now, but that ball might not be in the right spot. She's going to have to curl around and wait for the rest of the team to catch up. Huber goes back to Manuel, who immediately one-times this down into the north zone, and no one's home for Shanley, although it was a nicely aimed ball. Gemtrude's just going to pick up here. Gemtrude punts this one away, gets some good distance on it, but Promisberger's the only one there, so she's going to keep it in the north zone. Promisberger across to Kelsch. Kelsch moving forward with it. Swanson on her. Loose ball now. It's going to be tracked down by Watson. Watson again using that great speed. Wambach pretty fast in her own right, but Watson is just blazing out there.
Yes, great job to at least apply the pressure there from Wambach. That keeps possession in the Deacons in the Deacon way. So obviously they're able to continue on their offensive possession. If she just gives up on that play, North is able to control that and get the ball back. So obviously a great play there from Wambach, something that maybe goes unnoticed, but just great hustle.
And now Shanley is going to put this one out of bounds. That one off the foot of a Deacon. I think Wambach was the last one to touch it. So North going to get an opportunity to send this one upfield. And this is a good opportunity for him here with 11:25 left. You want to try and spring someone here on this kick. Now you'll notice Naiseth is still out dealing with what we think are cramps, as it looks like they're trying to stretch her out over there. Not quite sure, though. Josie Hell is in at forward, and she looked pretty good in limited time here. So we'll see what she can do. Post going to play this one back to Heinrich. Heinrich moving through the middle of the field, gets it up to Kelsch. Kelsch now working her way over to the right side, but it's poked away. A great steal made that time by Baki. Baki going to play this one all the way across now to Solberg. Solberg with Promisberger closing in on her. Able to get that one over to Hoff. Hoff and Berg battle after it. Hoff gets to it, loses it briefly. Hell trying to track it down in there along with Solom that time. And now with it is Hoff. Hoff moving forward, working against Manuel. Manuel combines that time with Berg to take it away and puts it out of bounds.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed there, a name that we have not really mentioned much tonight, but freshman Vanessa Berg, number 3 for the Shanley Deacons. Obviously doesn't have the size of a lot of players that we've talked about tonight, but she is tenacious out there, does a great job. Also only a freshman, but she does a very good job of just being very composed every single time that the ball comes her way, and she's also been another bright spot on the youthful Shanley Deacons team this year.
Yeah, very quietly one of their better players. I think her biggest thing is she just does not make many errors. Like you said, she does everything pretty well and just doesn't seem to slip up. And that's important on a team. You just got to have people who don't make those mental mistakes. And she's definitely one of those girls.
Exactly, and there's always those unsung heroes on every single team. Obviously, you talk about like a cornerback in football. The less that you hear their name, or a lineman in football, the less you hear their name, probably the better job that they're doing.
This ball deep down into North territory. Huber wins the race to it. Not a lot of options, though. A lot of North defenders around her. She's going to try to play it out of bounds off of someone, and she's able to get that to happen. So I think we'll have a corner here for the Deacons. Yeah, to be the case.
An extremely intelligent play there from Hadley Huber. She saw that the ball was probably going to go out of bounds, but that defender was right on her, so she just kicked it off her, and the Deacons are going to have another opportunity to have this corner kick, and with about 9 minutes left, this could really be the nail in the coffin if they're able to convert this.
And, boy, Huber seems like she's won every race that she's had today, again, using that height and long stride to get the step, as now Kelsch puts this one in on the corner kick, and it's headed away nicely by Remy Vanette. So North able to shut that play down for the Deacons. One thing to note, I think that's corner 4 or 5 for Shanley. Meanwhile, North only has had 1, and it didn't come until the second half. Part of that, might just be Shanley's defense. They've been fortunate. They've played well, have not had to put out of bounds. As now, I guess this one is out of bounds off North, so we got another corner. Kelsch going to try again. That one headed away again by Baki, back on net. Gemtrude with an excellent save, maybe saving the game that time for Fargo North. Just gets into the corner in time.
Yeah, and obviously we talked about Baki, the one player with a lot of height there for the Fargo North Spartans, and it could not have come at a better time. Looked like the Deacons maybe had a chance to score there, but obviously the height of Baki, she had a great header, played it out, and maybe saved a goal there for the Fargo North Spartans.
And Gemtrude able to show off that time. We talked about the 2 goals that she can't really be totally blamed for, as they both were kind of special circumstances. Of course, the deflection the one time and then a breakdown in defense the other. That time Gemtrude able to show off, though, and show why she's so valuable to this North team as she gets up into that corner. That's a high spot in the net. Not a lot of goalies can make it there. Gemtrude's got good height and athleticism, able to get up there, get her hands up. So, now with 7:45 left, not a lot of time, got to make something happen. Hoff was doing good things in the middle of the field, but the Deacons shut it down. Huber almost sprung that time. Grieger got there first, though, and pokes it away.
And they've been paying a lot of attention to Hadley Huber. She almost in a way, Hadley Huber has been the 5th defenseman for the Shanley Deacons, because they've had to keep almost 2 girls on her for the entire half. So that's less offensive pressure that the Spartans have been able to apply.
For sure, and the Deacon midfielders as well have done a great job of getting that ball up to her. We've seen so many long passes that are just right on the money to Huber. Hasn't converted on any yet, but that's not, that's really okay, because she's taking the attention away from the offensive game, like you said. Easy save made that time from Gemtrude off the Huber kick. Gemtrude now going to punt this one downfield. Hell chasing after it. Hell collides that time with Hansen for Shanley, and now this one's going to be played back to Heinrich. Heinrich makes a great move to get around Hell. Bringing it forward now, she'll go over to Manuel.
And yeah, you just see here, look how comfortable the defensemen are. That obviously is a testament to their confidence and their abilities and their composure, but also the lack of pressure that Fargo North has been able to apply pretty much the whole night. And obviously that's a little bit Fargo North's discredit, but mostly to the credit of the Shanley Deacons' wonderful play thus far tonight.
Deacons continue to volley this one around. They're just eating up clock right now with this passing. Solberg tried to jump that one. She was just a few steps late, and now Kelsch has it off the pass from Manuel, but Baki strips that one away. Comes up limping a little bit after it, though. Wambach and Hansen chase that one down for Shanley. Hansen sent it downfield, and Baki heads it away, and she's really moving gingerly on that 1 foot, just trying to stretch it out right now.
Yeah, it looks like that might be almost a calf. She's doing a calf stretch out there. Maybe she tweaked that a little bit. Never an injury. That's kind of one of those that you can always play through, but it's just really annoying to have that calf not feeling 100% out there. Yeah,
just a really nagging injury, like you said, as this one will go out of bounds. Baki tried to save that one there at the last minute, but it'll roll out. 5:35 left, and for North, this is really crunch time. I mean, 5:30, not a ton of time to make something happen. It's still possible, though, but you got to move this ball. And this one's just going to be put out of bounds by Grieger. North having to play defense at a time where they really can't afford to.
Yeah, and we've really been counting it down the whole half, but this is really do or die time, Jed. 5 minutes, still enough time to put 2 goals in for the Spartans, but it needs to happen now. Otherwise, you're really not going to have enough time to put 2 in.
And now an opportunity out in front. Gemtrude gets there in a nick of time, but Kelsch was right there. She was forcing her way in, just being a real pest there right in front of the North net. High punt here, and now it's going to drop off the shoulder of Berg for Shanley. Up to Kelsch. Kelsch trying to work around Swanson. Swanson pokes it away, but Wambach is there trying to work it back to Kelsch. Swanson will knock it away once again. This one then going to be sent out of bounds by Kenninger. Quick throw in. Wambach again on top of it, but now it's poked away. Hell has it on the far side. Hell trying to leave it off that time, but it'll instead go out of bounds. It's a tough break for the Spartans there. Looked like they might have had something going.
Yeah, just obviously the Deacons also have done a great job of just keeping their foot on the gas, keep applying offensive pressure. Obviously, they have not been able to score yet so far in the second half, but keeping the ball in the Spartan zone for almost the entire second half has been critical to them keeping that 2-0 lead.
Hell now going to knock this one back. Good pass over to Hoff. Hoff couldn't settle it down, but Promisberger overran it. Hoff showing some great speed there. Gets it over to Solberg. Solberg trying to work her way around Berg. Pulls off a couple of moves to get some space, but she and Hoff aren't quite on the same page that time. It will roll out of bounds off a Deacon, though. So it will be a throw in here from North.
And it almost looked there like Promisberger let the ball go by her in an effort to let Berg almost run off with that. Would have been a really pretty play if it would have happened, but they weren't quite on the same page. ended up not being too big of a problem for the Deacons in the end.
A deflection now, and that one is out of bounds. Last touched by Shanley. Solberg was headed back the other way. I think she thought that was off her, but I think Manuel might have touched it last. So 3:15 left and a North throw-in deep in Shanley's territory. Throw-in here goes to Swanson. Swanson, nice little play back to Solberg. Solberg now moving out to the 30. She gives back to a defender. It's Smith. Smith going all the way back. North kind of reversing the field here. It's the right idea, but with so little time left, you don't want to risk giving it up. Grieger on the far side. North just hanging on to it. It's put out of bounds. Last touch by Shanley, but they are more than content to keep doing that as it's just eating up clock now with 2:41 remaining. Throw in here from Baki. Tracked down somehow. Spartans able to come away with it, but only briefly as this one's now sent forward by Emineth. The ball from Emineth, intercepted by Smith. Smith over to Solberg. Solberg working against Promise Berger, has to give it back to Smith at the 45. Smith now up to Swanson. Swanson gives that one back to Grieger. Grieger moving across. She's got some green in front of her, trying to spring Watson that time. Right idea, right spot, just could not quite thread the needle. And now the Deacons bringing it way back the other way. Post that time, running it forward. Oh, whistle, and it will be Shanley ball here, I believe.
Yeah, and obviously North trying to get something going, but at this point in the game, 2 minutes left, 2-0 Shanley lead. They have about 9 defensemen back, Jed, so it's really going to be tough for them to get the really any penetration whatsoever, because at this point, Shanley's perfectly content if they don't really have the ball much on offense. They're just not going to let you get anywhere while they're on defense.
Yeah, even if you get one goal for North, the time you burn just getting reset with 1:30 left here, not very likely, as it's looking like Shanley should walk away from this one with a win. And as that appears to be the case, Mason, how big is this for Shanley?
Yeah, you know, Jed, I've been to quite a few girls soccer games this year, but this is by far the best I've seen the Deacons play, and it could not have come at a better time. You know, a big matchup against a 4-0 team like Fargo North, and I think that North almost maybe, if they've been scouting or anything like that, maybe they just weren't expecting Shanley to come out and play at the level that they did tonight, because it has just been a higher level than what we've really seen so far this year. So if the Deacons can continue to add on to that, they could be a very dangerous team come the postseason.
For sure, Mason. I don't think we've seen North play poorly by any stretch of the imagination. I think Shanley just kind of elevated their game tonight to a level that I think even their own fans probably weren't expecting. And that's a great thing for them. I mean, to be able to come in here and knock off North on your home turf is huge. I mean, you're taking out arguably the top team in the East right now, going to hand them their first loss. Meanwhile, Shanley, they've got 2 ties to their name, but after tonight they'll be 4-0-2 still with no losses. And that's a pretty crazy thing to, when you think about who they lost off last year's squad.
Yeah, exactly, and they've really picked up where they left off, and there's just a testament, obviously, to the coaching staff, but also you can tell that the players did put in a lot of work in the offseason, and it's just a perfect blend of experience as well as youth, you know, and just leadership from the upperclassmen to really lead these underclassmen and show them how to do things.
Yeah, meanwhile, this defensive unit just continues to stand out to me. I think everyone can really agree that that's been the backbone here. The offense played well enough. They got a nice deflection. They made things happen, and they walk away with the win here, 2-0. A huge win for Shanley. North handed their first loss of the year. You know, Mason, we talked about how big this is for Shanley, but now what do you see for both these teams going forward as we've now entered the midway, kind of past that halfway point of the season now?
You know, obviously, Jed, I think that a team like Fargo North, a lot of experience, a lot of upperclassmen, they shouldn't let this one loss really deter them too much from doing much in the postseason, but a team like Shanley really needs to build on this as that EDC and state tournaments really start to come around. If they continue to build on that, obviously both teams very dangerous come maybe late May, early June.
Absolutely, Mason. It's something to watch going forward. For us, though, our last broadcast of the year, at least for athletics, will, of course, be bringing graduation to you on May 23rd, so folks be sure to tune into that. Going to have a lot of Shanley TV members graduating. Mason, of course, a senior. I want to thank you for coming out tonight, helping out over the last few years. It's been a good time.
Yes, it has. It was a pleasure to be here, Jed. Thank you for all the work that you've done as well as everybody else on Shanley TV. Obviously, a great year bringing sports much to those at home.
Yeah, I got to give a thank you, of course, to the rest of our crew. Got Kevin Gladich. He's just a sophomore, though, running the TriCaster. A lot of years left for him. But a huge shout-out to our 2 camera operators tonight, 2 guys who have been in it for a long time. Jake Kostecki, senior, who's graduating, done a ton of work with Shanley TV and the AV Club. Huge shout-out to him. Of course, Adam McTaggart, founding member, logged over 400 hours, guy who's done it all. Just another huge shout-out to him and a great senior class. Just really want to give a big thank you to them. Thank you for you guys for tuning in this year. It's been another great year of Shanley TV, our 3rd year of existence. Things just keep going well, and we're happy to have you guys tuning in, happy to bring these games to you. And yeah, just want to thank you for another good season, our last athletic broadcast of the year. One more time, though, don't forget, graduation, May the 23rd. Be sure to tune into that. That'll be a great time as well. For tonight, though, for Mason Timian and for our entire crew, I'm Jed Thomas. Your final score from Fargo, Shanley Deacons 2, Fargo North Spartans, nothing. To watch the archived version of this entire game and our other broadcasts, go to ShanleyTV.com. The proceeding has been a presentation of Shanley TV.